Good morning all, great to see you all, and I hope you're all keeping well and remaining detached from both happy things and bad things. If you want a better explanation of that, please see my last video. I'm here in the Bluebell woods. It's May now, and I just love this time of year because we've got bluebells here and you've got fresh new leaves on the beech trees. So I'm having to do a detailed shot because Cornwall's got some really nice bluebells, but they tend to be patchy. There aren't any really magnificent, huge spreads of bluebells like there are up in the south of England. I'll show you a few of those pictures later. So, if you're a beginner, you ought to be careful here because if you're not careful about what aperture you use, you might end up with something different than the way it looks through the viewfinder. So when you're looking through the lens on a DSLR with optical viewfinder, not the electronic one, the optical viewfinder will show you the view that you've got with the largest aperture of the lens. So if this lens, for example, goes from f4.5 to 32, I think. So as I'm looking at it now, the maximum aperture, in other words, the largest aperture I can get, which has got the smallest number, with my focal length of 300mm is actually 5.6. So with a digital SLR, you're looking through it at f5.6 in this case, if this was a digital SLR. But if you're not careful and you've got your camera set to say f13 or f16 even, then you'll take your shot, and if you're not careful and you move on, you'll have taken a shot with a lot more depth of field than you actually want. So always check the screen after each shot. Now with modern mirrorless cameras like this, they actually show you the depth of field, so as you're adjusting the depth of field, you can see it happening inside the camera. So I'll show you an example of that. So just be careful because what you see isn't necessarily what you get with cameras. So the same is obviously true of film cameras. You can be looking through the viewfinder and it will show you the view through the largest aperture that it can achieve. And that is because it needs to let in a lot of light to be able to show you exactly what you're doing. So, but when you take the shot, you might have the aperture set at something like 16 or something like that, and you'll get a lot more depth of field than you want. So f5.6, f8, f11, f13, and watch the background bluebells slowly getting sharper and sharper. It goes to f38, this camera, it gets a bit dark. But there you can see, that's a lot of unwanted depth of field. So I prefer shooting these type of scenes with a very shallow depth of field, which has got a smaller number. So this is f5.6, and I think that's what I'm going to shoot at. Hopefully you can hear the beautiful bird song in the background. So ignore my face for a while and just listen to some bird song. Got to stop and enjoy the eternal now. So beautiful. Bought a nice flask of peppermint tea with me today and put it on the ground, took the lid off so that the air could get to it and cool it down a bit. And I thought to myself, don't kick it over. So I wandered off, took a few pictures, came back and kicked it over. So I think it's back to the office and make another cup of tea. Oh well. Yeah, I decided to come to Tahiti, so this is the following day now. I'm at Tahiti Woods, which is right near the coast, near Portreath in Cornwall. Got myself a fresh flask of peppermint tea. Just found a nice fern with a last bit of light on it, because it's getting near sunset now. It's approximately 7:30, something like that. So it's nice to be able to come here and get the last light on some of these things, because you get really nice low light shining through and shining onto ferns and bluebells. Cheers. Don't drop it this time, you idiot. Bluebells can be quite sparse, so rather than using a wide angle lens and trying to get it all in, if you use a wide angle lens, the bluebells nearest the camera look quite sparse and spaced out. I prefer to get down fairly low and the bluebells all merge together then and make a better shot. But I quite often just like focusing on a different plant and having the bluebells as a background, because out of focus purpley blue backgrounds look really great with a green subject in front of them. So that's what I've done with this fern here. It's a bit of an unusual one, because the background bluebells are actually in the sunlight and the fern's dark. So it looks pretty good, but I'm not sure how it's going to come out anyway. I'll show you what I mean. So just walking along a path and saw these lovely red campion, the pink ones, with these bluebells. Doesn't look much here, but I'm going to get my long lens out and see what I can do. So if you've got a good long lens like this Sony, this is a Sony 100-400, not a cheap lens, but it's blinking good because it's got great close focusing ability. So you can basically walk around and you don't have to have a macro lens. So I love it for that reason. So I'm still using just a 2-lens system, which is so much lighter to carry around. So I got my lens out and started wandering around with it without the tripod, and managed to find a really nice looking red campion with some bluebells in the background. So pink and blue with the green of the leaves looks great together. So I've focused in almost as close as I can go at 400mm on this lens. I think I've managed to get a nice composition. So I'm using a large aperture with a small number, f5.6, to get as much as I can of this red campion flower in focus, but whilst throwing the background completely out of focus, because I think that's a much better look, because it allows you to concentrate on the subject. So yet another case where a long lens is better, and also a nice large aperture with a small number, f5.6. I think the shots worked out a lot better than it would have done if I'd tried to get more in focus. But I'll show you the comparison between one shot at f5.6 and one at f19, just so you can see for yourself what you think. Luckily, this is an area where phones can't get anywhere near this kind of quality. So if I try taking a shot with my phone, which is a pretty good phone, it's a Samsung, I don't know, A54 or something like that, I can't remember. But it's got a pretty good high megapixel camera on it. And with a zoom even, if I try and take a shot similar to what I've been taking on my mirrorless camera, it's not going to get anywhere near it. So, oh, that looks blinking awful. Well, I'll try and do something with it in Photoshop to give it a fair chance, but because the phone's got a much smaller sensor, it means that nearly everything's sharp. You don't want that really with these kind of shots. So yeah, phones have got some way to getting towards that yet, because the limitation of the small sensor. So that's when a big sensor becomes really useful. So give me a good old beautiful mirrorless camera any day. This was shot on a 5x4" film camera long before the days of Photoshop. So I used a soft focus filter for this one. I was pleased with this shot. It's the first light painted Bluebells image I've ever seen, and if you want to know how to do this, please see my light painting video. Well, thanks for watching, and don't watch any video next. Go out and take your camera out, take some pictures. Even if it's dark, do light painting. I don't know, just being outside, fabulous. See you next time. Bye.